Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. We begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him and glorify Him as He ought to be praised and glorified. And we send peace and salutation upon our last and final messenger, Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Thank you so much to all of you, my dear students and other audiences who've joined us for this live session on the IOU YouTube page. We have with us today a very special guest, Brother Saifullah Tumbi, who will be taking us through some important tips. And as I called it, the hacks of using Microsoft Excel in order to excel in your academic and professional career. And that's why it's called Excel. It helps you to excel in your life. And in today's day and age of corporate world, you need to have a good command over the use of Microsoft Excel. People like things to be simplified in their life. Corporates, when they're working in the workplace, senior management, they like things to be simplified. There are a lot of data crunching which is being done. And the use of Excel becomes critical in handling all of these data. The more simplified the data is, the more easy it is to understand the data. As I told you, there's so much of data around that you're going to get confused. You'll be lost all over. And therefore, the way you're going to study Excel, the way you're going to present things on Excel, require you to have some good knowledge of Microsoft Excel. So being good in computer does not simply mean how you're able to switch on your computer and log on to Facebook or some social media page, but from a professional perspective, your command over the office tools, and in today's discussion, Excel tool is extremely important and critical. I would like to welcome you all for this session, which we have with us with Brother Saifullah Tumbi. This session is being brought to you by the Corporate Relationship Program Department of the International Open University. The CRP department organizes regular skill development session on a monthly basis. We also have Corporate Connect session. And we would say that today's session is a combination of both, because the guest that we have today with us, while he'll be speaking on skill development, he is also from the corporate world. He's representing the corporate sector. So he'll be able to share with us insights on how things work in the corporate sector and how these skills will be important for you in your professional pursuits. The guest that we have with us today, Brother Saifullah Tumbi, allow me to introduce him quickly. He is an internal audit and compliance professional. He has more than 7 years of practical experience and has worked across different industries. He's currently working as an internal control specialist at the DHL Pakistan Private Limited. He's also the ACCA member, and along with ACCA, he has completed his bachelor's degree. He is also an internal auditor and is also an Excel trainer and has helped students and professionals around the world to train them and provide them with knowledge of MS Excel that will help them in their productivity in their career. We are thankful to you, Brother Saifullah Tumbi, to accept our invitation. Brother Saifullah, welcome to the
Thank
session.
you.
And I'll hand over the session to you. Barakallahu feek.
Thank you, Mansu. Thank you for a brief introduction. And let's begin with the session. Basically, you have introduced to me to the audience. I will teach you the core basics of Excel. What is the importance of Excel in corporate world? Basically, it is not only for financial world, it is for other departments as well. For example, it can be used by marketing executives, HR executives, either from payroll executives or any other department. It's not only purely financial world. Excel tool, it can be monetized and it can be used from basic to advanced level. It is a major world. It can be seen that from, you can say it, for example, there are many tools, there are many formulas, there are many Excel tips which can be used in Excel. Even you can learn the whole Excel in one crunch, basically. Although I am also learning. For example, if from time to time the Excel softwares are being updated. For example, the Excel software has been updated from 2007, then 8. The versions are getting updated from 2019, and currently the market on Excel is Excel 365, basically. So we can say that no one is an expert in Excel. Although everyone is good, but there are many, many, many things which can be learned in Excel. For example, if I say I know the whole Excel, if I yeah, if I am correct, so you can correct me, Mansoor, if I am wrong anywhere here. Basically, Excel is a big world, basically. It is used in corporate worlds, major industries, in audit firms, in many more sectors. Either it's a small store also. So let's start with the basics of Excel. So, like, what is the importance of Excel in corporate world? How it is used, how the tools are used, how the shortcuts are used, what is actually Excel is. So I am sharing my screen. Can you see my screen? So basically, what is an Excel? Excel is a workbook. You can see the screen. Excel is look like some sort of Excel boxes. We can say it cells actually. How does Excel works? Excel is also a basic of calculator basically. It contains many cells, many boxes, which we can say. Boxes are called cells in the world of Excel actually. Each cell has its own cell address basically. What is cell address? For example, if we go anywhere, if we are living in any place, any house, any society, each house has its own address. Likewise, Excel has its own cell address. How it can be identified? For example, if we are looking at the screen, we are standing in a cell. This box is called cell, and the lines that are showing to you that are called grid lines. If I can say, if we are standing in column B, these are called columns. For example, these are called columns, and these are called rows. If I am standing in column B and row number 3, this is called cell address. The cell address for the cell is B3. Okay. Cell address for the cell is B3. If I move to another cell, the cell address will automatically change. It can be seen here. The cell address is representing here. If I move to another cell, it can be the cell address it will be changed. It will be D3, E3, F3, F5, F4, F5. Okay. So this is basically an Excel workbook. It can also be said an Excel workbook. These has multiple grid lines, although many sheets can be added from here. This is a sheet 1. Also, sheets can be added from here, sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4, and many more. How many sheets you are willing to add? Okay. Moving forward, Excel is also a calculator itself. How it can be used as a calculator? For example, if I press equals to in it in any cell, an Excel calculator will be automatically opened. Likewise, if I want to calculate any sum amount, for example, 250, 350, 450, and 550, there are two options for calculating. There is a one formula and one basic principle. For example, if I press is equals to and move to another cell, move to any cell address, then we have to press plus sign, another plus sign, and another plus sign. So it will calculated automatically. If I want to make my function dynamic, so we will be using a sum formula. We will be using a sum formula is equals to sum, and we will drag it to upwards. So it will be doing the same function as it was doing in another function. Okay, nothing is appearing on the screen. Wait, I will be sharing a screen again. Can you see my screen now? Okay. Sorry for the interruption. I was saying Excel is also a calculator itself. For example, if we want to calculate anything, we can calculate easily. For example, if I write some example amounts, for example, 250, 350, 450, or 550, we can calculate it manually also. For example, if we press equals to, a calculator will be opened. A calculator will be opened. Yes, it's a different screen. I'm explaining with examples. Later on, I will be moving to a different screen actually. If we press equals to, a calculator will be opened in Excel cell. And we refer to any cell address, likewise this. And then we have to press plus. It will be calculated automatically if we refer cell address. For example, C4 plus C5 plus C6 plus C7. So this is a manual way of calculating anything. If I want to calculate it by using a formula, there are multiple formulas of this. For example, if I want to calculate the same thing, I will be using a sum formula is equals to sum, and we'll be doing like this, and pressing shift and arrow upwards will make my selection dynamic. And then I will be pressing closing bracket and enter. So it will calculate automatically. Moving forwards, I will be giving briefing on shortcuts also. For example, if I want to use only keyboards in corporate world, actually, usage of mouse is very less. Usage of keyboard is more important. That makes the Excel usage very fast actually. If I want to use a keyboard, how we will be using shortcuts. I will be sharing a file of Excel shortcuts which will be handed over to you. So it will help you most. For example, if I want to zoom the screen, for example, it is like this, zoom out. I want to use it, I want to zoom it 100%, the basic zoom of an Excel. So what will be the shortcut? The shortcut will be Alt W J. Alt W J. For example, I press Alt and screen will be appearing and automatically tab will be opened from that. If you can see here, the alphabets are representing F, H, N, P, M, A, and many more. If I press Alt, this tab will be opened and it will allow me to perform many functions. Now for zoom, we have to press Alt and leave it. Then we will pressing W. So options of zoom will be opened and many other options will be appearing. Options of zoom will be appearing, and now we will be selecting J because we have to move to 100% the default of Excel, the default zoom of Excel. If we want to customize our zoom, we will be using the same shortcut, but the words, the last word will be different. For example, I press Alt W, and now I have to zoom it to customize level. For example, I want to zoom it to on my level. So we will be pressing Q. An option will be appeared and a tab will be appeared, which will make you help to modify your screen. For example, I want to zoom it to 200% or 75% or 50%, 25%, or any customized selection. For example, the number 275 is not appearing here. So I can go to custom, click it there, and now I press 275 and enter. So you can see the zoom in will be automatically appeared. For example, now I have to move back to 100%, Alt W J. You don't need to write any shortcuts. I will be sharing the shortcut file actually. Moving on to next shortcut. For example, I want to insert any sheet. For example, I have I have a sheet 1 here. Now I have to add sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4 by using keyboard. So what I will be doing, I will be selecting a formula, selecting a shortcut, Alt H I and S. Sorry, Alt H I S. So you can see a sheet 5 will be automatically appeared. No usage of mouse, only usage of keyboard will help you to add a sheet. Likewise, if you want to delete a sheet, add a sheet, there are multiple shortcuts. For example, I will redo it again. Alt H I S. So another sheet will be appearing. Likewise, sheet 6. I was on sheet 1. I have added 2 more sheets by using keyboards. If I want to delete any sheet, the same shortcut will be used, but it will be Alt H I D, Alt H S D, Alt H S D. Sorry, my mistake. Alt H D S. So you can see sheet will be deleted. A delete option will be appearing and it will ask for confirmation. Do you want to continue? And then I will select OK, deleted. So a sheet will be automatically deleted. I will be doing again Alt H D S. So you can see the sheet are deleted. For example, I write anything. For example, Excel can also be used for words also, not only for numbers, not only for data analysis. It is also used for making reports, making graphical representation also. So I will be later on explaining that as well. For example, I am writing anything. For example, I write my name, Saifullah Tumbi. If I want to make it bold or italic or underline the words, first is I click in this cell and I manually press B or I or U with the help of mouse. Another shortcut we can use is Control B. It can be automatically bolded. Control I, it will be italic. Control U, it will do underlining. Okay. If I want to make it to normal, you can press Control B, Control I, and Control U again. It will be back to normal. So Excel is not only for using calculation or any other thing, it can also be for data analysis, for making reports, for graphical representation, for making pivot tables, for making pivot charts, and many more. Excel is a vast world actually. So moving forward, these are some basics. If one more basic thing, if I mistakenly did something, for example, I have written some words wrong. For example, I work as a finance professional. If I want to, if I identified that this is an error, this sentence shouldn't be here, or this sentence shouldn't be identified as I work as professional. So what I will be do, I want to delete it. We can press Control Z and it will be automatically disappeared. For example, last action performed will be deleted. For example, if I do anything, if I press Control Z, that action will be deleted, or whatever the action will be done will be repeated. For example, if I amend anything, here I amend Saifullah Tumbi to only Saifullah. If I want to make it Saifullah Tumbi again, I will be pressing Control Z again and the last action performed will be reverted back. If I want to repeat that again, for example, I identified the Saifullah Tumbi should be make it Saifullah again. For example, I deleted control, I press Control Z, the Tumbi again appeared. Now I identified that Tumbi shouldn't be here. So I will perform another action of redo. That Control Z was undo. Now I will be performing a redo action. So I will be pressing Control Y. That action will be reperformed, which has been deleted. That action will be reperformed, which has been deleted. Moving forward, if I want to erase my grid lines, if I want to remove my grid lines, these are grid lines. For example, the borders you are seeing, these are called grid lines. If I want to remove it for the sake of presentation, the shortcut for this is Alt W and VG. VG you can see here, the tick mark is appearing. If I press VG, the grid lines will be disappeared. If I repeat the same shortcut, the grid lines will be appeared. Alt W VG. You can see the grid lines have been appeared. I will be performing again. Alt W VG. The grid lines have disappeared. If I perform the same action again, Alt W VG, the grid lines will be appeared. For example, I want to color any tab, any text, or I want to make borders. There are multiple shortcuts. For example, if one way of making borders is simply selecting the area manually by help of mouse and clicking here and selecting all borders, a border will be created in a box. If I can do Control Z or undo, the border will be disappeared by using Control Z. Now I will be using a shortcut to make borders. For example, I have to select multiple cells. I will be pressing Shift, right arrow, or downwards arrow, or upwards arrow. It will help me to make selection of multiple cells. Now I will be performing Alt H. The border cell is in Home tab. You can see here. So Home tab represents from H. I will be pressing H. Now I have to press B because borders represent with B cap. So I will be pressing B. It will make a list of options for me. So like what borders you want. Either you want all borders, it is represented by A. You want thick borders outside only, it is represented by T. If you want bottom double border, it is represented by B. Thick bottom border, it is represented by H. So for example, I want all borders. I will be pressing A and it will make us all borders. You can see this. If I want another border, for example, here you can say I want thick border. I will be selecting an area, Alt, H, B, and I will be pressing thick borders. For thick borders, we will be pressing T. Now you can see a thick border is appearing. Okay. Moving forward, if I want to color any cell, if I want to color any text, any cell, one way is like you press any cell or any multiple cells, you go manually and here are multiple options of colors. You can select any color or any combination. One way is like this. Another thing is using shortcut by using keyboard. I want to color these cells by using shortcuts. I will be pressing Alt H because it's the color tab is in H. I will be pressing H again because the color tab represents H. I will be pressing H. and it will be a color pane will be appeared. For example, now you can move it from your cursor keys, left, right, up, down. So what color you want? For example, I want this yellow. I will be pressing enter and this will happen. A yellow color will be appeared in a selected area. For example, I want to be back to white panes, white colors, and I will be using a same shortcut but with an added word. Alt H. Again, I will press H and then I will be pressing N because no fill. The back to default mode is called no fill. No fill represents N. I will be pressing N and this will be back to normal. Okay. Now, for example, I want to color any text. I want to color any text. One way is to go manually, select any color, and done. You are done. The same thing I will be doing from a Excel shortcut. For example, Alt H, and now I will be pressing FC because the text color here represents FC. I will be pressing FC and a color pane will be appeared. Now I will be selecting any color I want by using keyboard keys. Okay. And press enter and you are done with that. Now these are the basics. Now moving on to formulas. One formula I have represented here. I will be advancing that formula in the second sheet. I am stopping my sheet here and representing another screen actually. Okay. These are some amounts. For example, these are some amounts which needs to be calculated. For example, in cell in for example, I write here name and amount. For example, if I want to calculate this whole thing, what formula will be used? What formula will be used? One thing is if you select this whole thing, 1, 2, 3, and all. If you select this whole thing, three different things will be appearing here on the right side of the Excel, right side downwards. Average, the count number, and the sum. It will be automatically calculated here also. But we have to use a formula exactly. We have to use the formula. So we need to calculate it by using a formula by using keyboard. If we press is equals to, a calculator will be opened as discussed previously. SU. If you press is equals to an SU or any other formula, a list of formula will be appeared. You can see there are many formulas: substitute, subtotal, sum if, sum product, and many more. If you want to enter a sum formula, you will be using downwards arrow key and then press the tab button. After pressing tab button, you will enter a formula. After pressing tab button, you will be entering a formula. Now you will refer the cell which needs to be calculated. You will refer the cell which need to be calculated. For example, I want to calculate it from here. So I will be using shift control downwards arrow. Shift control, which means, for example, it will drag it to last cell. If I press control and downward arrow, it will take to me on the last cell. Okay. If I select this cell, these cells for reference, which needs to be calculated, and then I press closing bracket and enter, it will automatically calculate it. You can see here 550 is the amount which can be confirmed from here as well. For example, if we select it, you can see here 550 is appearing. The amount of 550 is appearing here also. The average count, the sum count, and the number of figures. the sum formula is, I guess, clear. It's easy, not a technical thing. Now, we will be using a count formula. What is count formula? It is used to count how many cells are filled. For example, I write anything in any cells, and there's a massive data for around 40,000 line items or 50,000 line items. We want to calculate how many cells are containing numbers only. How many cells are containing numbers? So a basic formula for calculating cells in which numbers are appearing, we will be using a count formula is equals to count, COU. Now you can see there are multiple options of count, count A, count a blank, count F, count Fs, and many more. We want to use count formula. We will be going to count, pressing tab, and we will be entering the formula. Now you can see here value 1 is appearing, value 2, and so on. You can either select it by range. It's also good. Also, you can do it manually. For example, I select this cell of value 1. You can say it value 1. Then you can press comma. In formulas, if you want to move to another thing or another value or another, you can say another cell, incorporating the previous one, you have to press comma. If I press comma, a value 2 option will be appeared, and Excel is saying to move to value 2. I have calculated value 1. I have taken value 1 in my count formula. You can take value 2 for another option. So we will be taking value 2 and we will be pressing comma again. Now a value 3 option is open. Likewise, we will be doing the same thing, comma. Now value 4 is appearing. But this thing is a time consuming activity by pressing comma and going to multiple cells. For example, if I close here and press closing bracket and enter, he is representing the 3 cells you have selected are containing numbers. We have to make it dynamic actually. Now I will be performing the same function by using the count formula. Now I will be using count, pressing tab, and I have entered the formula. I will select the whole range. I will be selecting the whole range. You can see selecting whole range means F5 to F14. F5 is basically a cell address and F14 is also a cell address. The column between this thing represents that from where you have started and from where you have ended. For example, I have started from F5 and ended to F14. So, which means I have taken a range between F5 and F14, which will be calculating or counting or any other action can be performed. I will be pressing closing bracket and pressing enter. So you can see it says all 10 cells contain numbers. All your 10 cells contains numbers. For example, if I delete number in this cell, it will automatically say that one cell is empty. Only 9 cells have numbers. But the issue is I have applied formula on the whole range. Why shouldn't be this like this? So the basic function of count formula is it only counts numbers in a cell. For using for calculate for counting blank cells, we use a different formula. For example, if we want to calculate blank cells, it will be the formula will be count blank is equals to count blank. You can see here multiple options are here. Count blank. For example, we entered into formula. Now we have selected the range. And press closing bracket and enter. It says only one cell is empty other cells are filled. The count blank function is used to count only blank cells. So it says only one blank cell is empty, other cells are non-empty. Okay. Likewise, there is another function count A, and which is used to count other things. For example, if I press is equals to count A, what it will do? For example, if I want to count these alphabets, it will count my number cells, my alphabet cell, sorry. It will count my alphabet cell. If I apply this same formula on number cells, what will happen? You can see here. It can be calculated, it can calculate numbers also. But if I count alphabets in count function, it will represent 0. Let's see with an example is equals to count, and if we count alphabets by using count formula, you can see here it's 0 because the count function counts numbers. Count A finds all things. Count A exactly counts numbers and cells. Count blank only counts blank cells. For example, if I write 30 here again, you can see here the count blank is appearing 0, count A is 10, and count is 10. So these are the basic formulas which can be used in daily life. For example, if I want to take an average, so there is a formula of average also is equals to average AV. Here multiple options. If you press AV or anything, there were multiple options of AVDE, A average, average E, average A, average if, average ifs. So you can go by cursor keys, press tab, and you have to give a range of numbers from which you have to calculate average. I've given range here and press enter. So you can see number 55 is appearing as an average of 10 cells. You can counter check from here also. The average is here. You can see the average here. Moving forwards, another thing, there are multiple things as a reference also. For example, I previously discussed if you press equals to, the calculator cell will be opened. This not only works for calculation only, this works for referencing only. For example, I write here anything. For example, we can understand here with an example. It's written tiger, lion, and number 1, lion, apple, and 2, or any other things. If I want to represent the same thing here again, I want to copy this same thing here again. One option is to copy paste, Control C and Control V. The copy paste function is Control C and Control V. For example, if I want to copy here, I will be copying here and pasting here. One thing is that if I want to use an Excel function, for example, if I want to do this, for example, if I write, if I want to link this cell basically from here. So you can use is equals to and give the cell address from which cell you have to refer. For example, I have pressed is equals to and I have referred cell address C5. I have referred cell address C5 and then I press enter. So the same thing will be appearing as of here. For example, if I change anything here, the changes will be made here automatically. For example, if tiger, I change this thing to cow, automatically it will make changes. Automatically it will make changes. For example, if I want to copy this same thing downwards, I am saying that I want to make this whole thing written as tiger. So I copied this thing and now it's different because the cell referencing isn't correct. The cell referencing isn't correct. Why it isn't correct? Because it's not copying tiger. It's copying the cell address. It's copying cell address C5. You can see it is copying cell address C5. Likewise, so I need to fix this cell. I need to freeze these cells. For example, I want to copy tiger here also, here also, here also, here also. So what I will do, I will press F2 and enter the formula. The shortcut for entering anything, any word, any formula is F2. If I press F2 here, a cell address will be appearing. Then I need to press F4. A dollar sign will be appearing at C and at 5. At cell address, a dollar sign will be appearing, which means you have frozen the column, and which means column C, and row 5. You have frozen that thing. I will be pressing enter, and I will be copying the same thing downwards. Now the tiger is appearing down in all cells, which I have to select. For example, I want to make it tiger here also. For example, there, here, or I want like orange should be appeared here. For example, if I move downwards, only tiger should be appeared. Only this thing needs to be, for example, I want to make like this, like this, like this. What needs to be done? For example, I refer this cell is equals to, and I will be freezing only selected things. For example, if I am moving downwards, I need to copy the same thing from tiger to dog, and from left to right, I need to copy from number till number 5. So I will be pressing F4. It shows that you have frozen columns and rows. Now I need to move in the cells. I need to move in the cells, but I don't need to don't need to change the column, or don't need to change the rows. So what's the basic principle of doing this? I will press F4 again. Now you can see the column hasn't frozen, only the row number is frozen, which means row number 5 is frozen. Row number 5 is constant. But here in our case, if we move from tiger to dog, the rows are changing, only the column is fixed. Only the column is fixed. So we will be using F4 key again. Now you can see the column is fixed and row is moving. Row is moving. I will be pressing enter, and I will be dragging this thing Control C to downwards. Now you can see the rows, the column is fixed and the rows are moving. If I do the same thing here, for example, Control C and Control V, the same thing will be done here. You can see this. For example, if I want to refer the cell, I will be pressing F4, F4, F4. Now the column D is fixed and row 5 is movable, which means column is fixed and rows are movable. I will press enter and drag it to downwards. Okay. If I want to move from left to right, if I want to move from left to right, how it can be altered? For example, now I will be referring this thing, and I will be pressing F4, which shows columns and rows are frozen. I will be pressing F4 again. Now my row is fixed. My column is moving. My column is it fixed. I will press enter, and here I came, and I will be pressing Control R. Now it can be seen that rows are moving. Sorry, rows are fixed and column are moving. For example, you can see that, sorry, tool R, sorry, my rows are fixed. For example, if I want to apply the same thing here, you can see the rows are fixed. You are moving vertically. You are moving vertically. If I does the same thing but with a different thing, in that thing it was appearing like this. It was moving from left to right. Now it is moving from top to bottom. So the first line is the same and it is appearing the same downwards. It is called linkages. Basically, it is the basic principle of linkages. Reference, we can say that. Moving to another formula, we are moving from basic to advanced level, basically. Here we will be playing true and false. For example, if I say that 10 is equals to 10, a true should be represented. For example, if I say that this is equals to this cell, a true word should be appeared. Okay, true word should be appeared. It can be seen that 10 is equals to 10, but 10 is not equals to 50. A false should be appeared here. So what we will do, this is equals to this. So a false is representing here, which means 10 is not equals to 50. But if we say that 50 is greater than 10, 50 is greater than 10. So a true should be appeared. So what will be using this greater than 50. So it will be appeared as true, which represents 50 is greater than 10. If I use the same thing here, for example, 10 is greater than 20, a true will be appeared. But if I say that 10 is less than 20 or 10 is greater than 20, then it will appear as false. 10 is greater than 20, it will appear as false. Likewise, in days, if we say that Tuesday is equals to Monday, it will be false. But if we say that Monday is equals to Monday, it will be appeared as true. It will be appeared as true. Likewise, if I say that 3 plus 2 is equals to 7, it is incorrect. So a false should be represented here. Likewise, if I say that 3 plus 2 equals to this thing, so a false will be appeared here. But if we say that 10 plus 3 is 30, a false should be appeared here again as well. I will copy the same formula, pressing F2. Now you can see that 10 plus 3 is not equal to 30. That's why it is representing as false. 10 plus 3 is representing as false. But if I say that 10 multiplied by 3 equals to 30, so this will represent as true. This will represent as true. Moving forward, we can say that current date is greater than previous date. Current date is greater than previous date. For example, if I say that 1st January is equals to 1st January, it will be true. But if I say that 1st January 2020 is equals to 1st January 2021, it will appear as false. It will appear as false. But if I say that 1st January 2020 is less than 1st January 2021, because the current date we are standing on is greater than the previous date, it will appear as true. It will appear as true because the current date is bigger than the previous dates. If I say that 2020 is greater than 2029, it will appear as, sorry, 1st January 2020 is greater than 1st January 2029, it will appear as false. But if I say that 1st January 2020 is less than 2029, it will appear as true. Okay. Moving on to next formula. Excel has multiple formulas like and, or, if, and nested if. If I use and formula, for example, if I say if I want to use true false function in putting multiple conditions, so what I will be doing, I will be using and formula. For example, I am saying that 1st January is 2019 is equal to 1st January 2019 here, and this 1st January 2019 is equal to this 1st January 2019. So what I will be using, I will be pressing equals to and function and pressing tab. So a formula will be appeared asking logical 1 and logical 2. Here you can add multiple logics. For example, there are two logics. First is 1st January is equals to 1st January 2019. If I press comma, it will enter into logical 2. It will enter into logic 2. What is the second logic? Second logic is this 1st January 2019 is equals to 1st January 2019. I will be pressing closing bracket and then pressing enter. It will appear as true. It will appear as true. But if I say that and this 1st January 2019 is equal to 1st January 2019, half logic, the logic 1 is true. But if it fails in logic 2, it will declare as false. Partial logics are not accepted in AND function. In AND function, partial logics are not accepted. If I say logic in logic 2, 1st January 2019 is equal to 1st January 2018, and if I press closing bracket and press enter, it will declare as false because the first logic is correct, but the second logic is incorrect. So it will declare as false. Now Excel has a multiple variety. It is putting a conditional condition. It is saying that any one logic is correct, it should be declared as true. Any one logic is correct, you can declare as true. For example, we have learned AND function. Now we are using OR function. It is giving conditions. For example, if this cell is equals to this cell and this cell is not equal to this cell, so you can declare as true because one logic is meeting. Either second logic is not meeting, but first logic is meeting, you can declare it as true. For example, or he is asking logic 1. What is logic 1? So we can say logic 1, 1st January 2019 is equals to 1st January 2019, comma. Second logic. Second logic is 1st January 2019 is equals to 1st January 2020, which is incorrect. We will press closing bracket and press enter. It will appear as true because it has put condition. What is the condition? Condition is any one logic passes, it should be appeared as true. Any one logic passes, it should be appeared as true. If any of the logic doesn't passes, it should be declared as false. For example, we use OR function here. This equals to this, which means 1st January is equals to 1st January 2016. The logic 1 fails here. What does logic 2 say? Logic 2 says that 1st January 2016 is equals to 1st January 2018. The second logic also fails here. Now it will be declared as false because any of the logic is passing, isn't passing. First logic isn't passing and second logic is also not passing because 1st January 2019 is not equal to 1st January 2016 and 1st January 2016 is not equal to 1st January 2018. That's why it is saying that all logics are failing and it is declared as false. It is declared as false. For example, moving forward, we will be using if function. We will be using if function. What does if function says? If functions gives us multiple options. If this happens, what should be your next step? For example, if 10 is equals to 10, what it should be declared? It should be declared true or any other option which you need to add. For example, here I use if function. I say is equals to if. You can see there are multiple ifs. If error, if any. If I press on if pressing tab, now it will be asking a logical test. What is your logical test? What you want to perform basically. In logical test, I will be giving him that this cell is equals to this cell, which means 10 is equals to 10. I will be pressing comma. He is asking either if it is true, what action should be performed, or if it's false, what action should be performed. If I press comma, it will move to another logics. He is asking if true, what should be done, and if false, what should be done. I am saying that if it's true, correct should be written. The word correct should be written. The word correct should be written. But here it's a big issue. We cannot write text directly. If we write text directly, the formula will be opened. So if we need to quote any text in an Excel formula, you need to press inverted commas. You need to press inverted commas. You need to press inverted commas to quote any text in an Excel formula. Likewise, if I say if the logical test passes, the value of true should be correct. What if the value false? If the logical test doesn't pass, what should be appeared? It should be appeared as invert incorrect. Again here I will be pressing inverted commas and I will write incorrect. I will be writing incorrect and I will be pressing closing bracket. Here my formula is closed. Now you can see I have quoted the text in inverted commas. If I don't quote the text in inverted commas, it will make an error for me. It will make an error for the formula. I will press enter and now you can see as the value is correct, it is appearing correct. It is appearing correct. If I change the value here, for example, 10 equals to 20, it will appear as incorrect. It will appear as incorrect. The same thing I will be dragging here. All things are making incorrect functions. If I press the same thing again, for example, 10 is equals to 10, it will be appeared as correct. For example, if I use the same function, but I don't code any text here, I don't quote any text here. I don't want to quote any text here. I want to just refer my cells. For example, if I will be giving logical test, this cell equals to this cell. Pressing comma, it will ask what if value if true. If the logical test passes, what do you want to do? I will simply do one thing. I will write correct and incorrect in a separate cells and refer the value if true and value if false to these cells. I will refer these cells here, comma. What if value if false? I will refer the value if false reference here. But here an error will appear. The cell, the formula is correct here. It will be written as correct. But if I drag down, it will be appeared as 0. Why? As previously we have learned about linkages. We have learned about linkages that we need to freeze the cells. Now, if I open the formula, you can see the range is incorrect here, as the range is different here. The range is different, and here the range is completely different. So we need to freeze the cells. We need to freeze the cells. If I open the formula, I will go to value if true logic. Value if true logic. In that cell, I will be going and pressing F4. Now my cell is freeze. My cell D1 is frozen. I will go man by using keyboard keys and pressing, I will press F4. And now my second function is also frozen. If I drag it downwards, now my referencing is correct because linkages are properly correct, frozen. You can see here, the linkages are frozen. The linkages are not moving. So we have corrected here from here. The linkages will not be moved. Only these cells will be moved. These logical test cells will only be moved. The reference value if true and value if false linkages will not be moved. Moving to more formulas. Moving to more formulas. Here are some examples. The person here needs to be, you can say, if I want to write true and false by using Excel. We have learned that the current date is greater than previous date. We have learned that the current date is greater than your previous date. For example, if I say that this date is greater than 0, so obviously it will be true because 0 isn't any date, but 1st January 2021 is greater than 0. Likewise, here it will appear as true, but here it will be false because 0 isn't greater than 0. 0 is always equal to 0. 0 isn't greater than anything. Here a true figure will be appeared, here a true word will be appeared. So this was the basic example of true and false. And now, if I want to say that status of travel should be here, status of vaccination, non-vaccination for travel should be updated here in these cells. So what should be done? What formula should be used? For example, if I use if function, logic test should be appeared. What is the logical test? If I say that logic test is the current date of dose is greater than 0, then what should be appeared? If the logical test passes, if the current date is greater than 0, then it should be the value if true should be vaccinated. Likewise, we have learned the linkages of cell. We will press F4 here, then press comma. value if true is being identified that if the logical test passes, the value if true should be vaccinated. But however, if the logical test fails, what should be appeared? If the logical test fails, what should be appeared? So, value if false should be not vaccinated. Value if false should be referred as not vaccinated. I will press F4 here again, close closing bracket, and then enter. So you can see that here vaccinated is appeared. Here vaccinated is appearing because the date here is greater than 0. So it means he is allowed to travel, he is vaccinated. If I copy the same formula and drag it downwards, where this cell is not meeting, the logical test is failing, it is appearing as not vaccinated. It is appearing as not vaccinated. Where there are dates, which is greater than 0, here the status of vaccinated is appearing. Now the next step is to who are allowed to travel. Though the person who are allowed to travel should be vaccinated, but it should be in the form of tick and cross. It should be in the form of tick and cross, tick marks and cross marks. So what we'll be using, we will be using is equals to if function. If what is the logical test? Logical test says that if the person is vaccinated, if the person is vaccinated, which means this cell is equals to this cell. Now, here, the second figure in logical test, for example, which is equal, should be frozen. For example, G3 should be frozen because the thing here is once. It should be frozen because it cannot be moved. There are two conditions in logic test. Either it should be vaccinated or either it shouldn't be vaccinated. So here we can say if equals to this, then, sorry, comma, what if true? We will say value if the function, if the criteria meets, it should be appeared as tick mark. We will press capital P, inverted commas closed. It should not be only small p. It should be only capital P and with inverted commas only. Because we learned previously there should the text, any form of text should be quoted with inverted commas. What if the value false? What if the logical test fails? Comma. We will again quote the same text with inverted commas but with capital O. With capital O. Now it must be confusing. Okay, why capital P and capital O? I have asked for tick marks and cross marks. Why it should be capital P and capital O? I will explain you. I am closing the formula and pressing enter. It is appearing as capital P. I will drag this formula downwards. Now you can see this cell is not equals to this cell is equals to this cell is not equals to this because it is not vaccinated and I have referred to only vaccinated cell. Here P, capital P and capital O are appearing. Now we will select the whole range and we will change the theme fonts. We will change the theme font. We will selecting Wingdings 2. Only Wingdings 2 will be selected and it will be appeared as tick and cross. Capital T represents tick and capital O represents cross marks. Capital P represents tick marks and capital O represents cross marks. Now, moving on to the another formula, we will make the if function more dynamic. We will be making the if function more dynamic. Here is an example of some people who want to travel to US or China. The condition for traveling to US is dose 1 should be Pfizer and dose 2 should all be Pfizer. If any other dose is appeared for US travel, he or she is not allowed to travel. So what we will do, we will select is equals to if. Now we will say that, sorry, is equals to if. Now we will give a logical test. This equals to this and this should be here multiple ifs will be used because the conditions are multiple. For example, here we are saying that dose 1 should be Pfizer and dose 2 will also be Pfizer. So we will merge if and function. We will merge if and function. So what is the logical test? Logical test will be and. Logical test will be incorporated with and. So the logical one says that this Pfizer should be equal to this Pfizer, okay, comma, logic 2, this second dosage should be equal to this, and we will freeze this cell and press closing bracket. Now I have exited from AND function and I have appeared again in if function. Now we have given the logical test. What if the value doesn't meet? What if the value doesn't meet? Or what if the value meets? Comma. If the value is true, if both dosages are met, both dosages are applied, he or she is allowed to travel. So the value of true should be capital P as discussed previously. Value if true should be capital P, comma. What if the first dose is equal to Pfizer, but second dose is not Pfizer? So the value if true should be capital O, inverted commas closed, and we have to close the bracket again, and we will press enter. So capital P and capital P is appearing. Likewise, we will drag the same formula downwards. Now you can see that only first person is allowed to travel to America because his first dose is Pfizer and second dose is also Pfizer. Now we will use Wingdings 2. We will change the theme font Wingdings 2. So you can see there's only one tick mark is here because one person named Ahmed is allowed to travel to US because his both doses are Pfizer. Others are not allowed to travel to US because only one or no doses of Pfizer are applied on them. Likewise, China puts the same condition but with a different variety. China says that first vaccine should be Sinovac, but second should be anything, either Pfizer, either Sinovac, or Sinopharm. So here we will be using or function with if function is equals to if. What is the logical test? Logical test will be or function. Logical test will be or function. Here I will be giving logic 1. Here I will be giving logic 1. What is logic 1? Logic 1 is that the first dose should be this equals to this. First dose should be Sinovac. First dose should be Sinovac. F4, comma. If second dose should be anything. Sorry. Here, if and or function, all three function will be used. All three function will be used. And logical one. This should be equals to this because there is no option for first dose. First dose should only be Sinovac 4, comma, or function. What is the second logic? Second logic is multiple logic. Second dosage should be any vaccine, either Pfizer, Sinovac, Sinopharm, anything. But first dosage should be Sinovac. So this should be equals to this. Another logic I will be applying, either this should be equal to Sinovac 4. We will freeze it again. And logic 3, that second dosage either should be equal to Sinopharm. And then I will be pressing bracket and again bracket, comma. What if the value is true? If the first dose is Sinovac and second is any of the doses described, it should be appeared as tick mark. So we will write inverted commas, capital P, inverted commas close, comma. What if the value fails? Value, if false, it should be capital O in inverted commas, closing bracket, and enter. So here the condition is not being met because the first dose isn't Sinovac. First dose is not Sinovac. Although second dose is optional, but the first dose is not being met. So he is not allowed to travel to China. If I drag the same formula and apply Wingding's form, Wingding's 2. So first person Ahmed is not allowed to travel to China because his first dose is not Sinovac. His second dose is optional, which is correct, even though Bilal is not allowed to travel to China because his first dose isn't Sinovac. But the person named Usman, he is allowed to travel to China because his first condition is being met. Second condition is optional. It is meeting the second condition as well. But the first condition of Sinovac is he is meeting that condition. The person named Nabil isn't meeting the same condition because he has only his first dose. He is not in. He hasn't got any second dose. Same goes with the Umar. He hasn't got any second dose, so he is also not allowed to travel to China. So using if and or function makes formulas dynamic. There are multiple varieties of using if. If can be used multiple times in a single formula also. For example, there are multiple conditions. If this happens, what we will do. And if I use again second if in the same formula, it is also useful. It makes my formula more dynamic and dynamic. If I can use 3 times if in a single formula, 4 times if in a single formula, I can merge with another formulas. So it makes my function. It's up to you how dynamic you can make it. It can be done from making for practicing Excel day by day. Moving on to another function, I was saying 2 or 3 ifs can be used. It is called nested ifs. It is called nested if. Here is a table in front of me. There are salesperson and sales of agent are pairing here. And a table is described. For example, if a person earns or make a sales of greater than less than 10,000, no commission will be made. Second slab says that if a person makes sales equal to 10,000 or greater than 10,000, he is allowed to 10% of the commission. 10% of the commission. And if a person makes sales greater than or equal to 50,000, he is allowed to 20% of the commission. He is allowed to 20% of the commission. So here are multiple conditions. So here we will be using nested if function. Here we will be using nested if function. Nested if. Using of multiple ifs in a single formula is called nested if. So starting with if formula is equals to if. What does a logical test one says? Logical test says that the sales here should be greater than 10,000. Should be greater than 10,000. If not, he will be entitled to 0% of the commission. So if this is greater than 10,000, greater than 10,000, here in numbers you cannot put comma here. If you put comma for the sake of better representation, it will move to another logic. You are not allowed to do like this. So you cannot put comma in between of the numbers also. If this cell is greater than 10,000, what if the value if true? If the cell is greater than 10,000, then 0%. If less than 10,000, then 0% commission is entitled, comma, value if false. Again, we will be using if formula because value if false will be appearing in the end. If again we are putting a condition and saying that if this cell is greater than 10,000 or greater than 50,000, what will happen? If the cell is greater than 50,000, he is entitled to 20% of the commission. He is entitled to 20% of the commission, comma, value if false. Value if false. If he isn't meeting any condition, if he isn't meeting any condition, sorry, is equals to if greater than 10,000, comma, what if value true? If this cell is greater than or equals to 50,000, greater than or equals to 50,000, comma, value if true. If it's greater than 20,000, he is entitled to 20% of the commission, comma. If it doesn't meet any of the criteria, it should be 10%. If it doesn't meet any criteria, it should be 20%. We'll close brackets. We have to close bracket twice because there are two if formulas. The number of formulas will increase the number of brackets in end. Enter. Sorry. We have to freeze the cell as well. Yeah. Greater than 10,000, comma. This should be the value. If this if this cell is greater than or equals to 50,000, then what will happen? We can say that it should be 20%, comma F4, comma. It should be, if any of the slab isn't meeting, we can say it should be 10%. Bracket closed and comma 0, bracket closed and so here the condition is not meeting. Here the condition is not meeting. Like if I drag the formula, you can see that here the conditions are being met. For example, if I say that if this cell is greater than 10,000, it should be as 10%. The commission should be 10%. If this cell is greater than or equal to 50,000, a 20% commission is entitled. If any of the formula, if any of the slab doesn't meet, it should be the remaining figure, which is 0%. I press enter and it appears as 0% because the figure here is 8,000 isn't meeting any criteria. It is neither greater than or equal to 10,000 or neither greater than or equal to 50,000. Only it's less than 10,000, which means he is entitled to 0% of the commission. He is entitled to 0% of the commission. It is called nested if. Moving on, another thing, we will be using count if formula. We will be using a count if formula. How to use count if formula? For example, here is an attendance sheet of any worker. Here is an attendance sheet of any worker which needs to be calculated. So it is saying that he was present on Monday, he was present on Tuesday, but not on Wednesday, only Thursday and Friday, which means he was present 4 working days and his per day allowance is 500. His per day allowance is 500. So we will be using count if function. We will be using count if function for calculating total allowance is equals to count if. We will be pressing tab and now he is asking for the range. He is asking for the range. What is the range where we have to calculate the daily allowance? For example, we are saying that this is the range of the person whom which we have to give daily allowance. Whom we have to give daily allowance. We will be giving criteria now. We have selected the range. Now we will be giving criteria. What is the criteria? What does the tick mark represents? Tick mark always represents capital P. So we will be quoting text. We will be quoting text in inverted commas, closing bracket and enter. Now it says there are 4 ticks. There are 4 working days in which he was present. There are 4 working days in which he was present. He will drag down the formula and it says he was present 3 working days, he was present 2 working days. So this is used for count if. Now we have to multiply it by 500. For example, if a person is allowed 500 per day, so what should be the amount of 4 days? So we will amend the formula. We will amend this formula. We will write this formula again is equals to count, give the range, sorry, count if. We will be giving range, comma, criteria. Criteria will be in inverted commas, capital P, bracket close. Then in the end, we will be using multiplying function, the basic function. Multiply represents from steric mark. Multiply represents from steric mark. And we will be giving reference to this cell. We will be giving reference to this cell. And we will freeze this cell. We will freeze this cell, comma F4, and then enter. So he is entitled 2000 allowance for 4 working days. He is allowed 2000 for 4 working days. Likewise, in another cells, every person is entitled to a weekly allowance of 1500, 1000, and 1000 respectively. Moving to last thing of if. If is used with sum if also. In calculating a sum amount, we have to put a condition that what should be the amount or specific of this specific condition if the specific condition meets. For example, for example, we will be using sum if formula. What does the sum if formula says? Sum if formula uses a single criteria option. Sum if formula uses a single criteria option is equals to sum if he is asking for the range. He is asking for the range. What is the range where you have to find? So my range will be, first range will be the names of the person in which we have to find a criteria. Then range in which we have to find a criteria, comma. We have written a criteria here separately that a person named Hassan should be find here. Person named Hassan should be find here. We have given the criteria here. For example, I have put comma and then refer to this criteria, comma. Now we have to give some range that the person Hassan needs to be found here, and only the figures for against Hassan should be calculated. Only the figures against Hassan should be calculated. So we will be giving a sum range after giving criteria, and we will be pressing closing bracket and then enter. Now we can see that the figures for Hassan is 450. We can counter check by using sum formula, by using this thing. If I select only this figures of Hassan, here on the right bottom, the amount 450 is representing, which means this formula is correct. Which means this formula is correct. If I say that the criteria should be changed, for example, I want to find another person, which is Ali, which is Ali. So what is the amount for that? Now here the figure is automatically changed because the criteria is changed and the ranges are same. You can see that if I open the formula, here is a name range. After giving the name range, you will be defining a criteria here. Then after giving name range, you have to give us sum range. Like if we want to find Ali in this cell, what is the sum range against Ali? So sum range against Ali represents 900. We can confirm it by here. Here you can say 900 is the sum range of Ali. Likewise, there is another formula, sum ifs. Sum if. It has dual criteria. It has dual criteria. What is the dual criteria? In the first sum if, we were using only one single criteria, that we need to find a person named Hassan. A person named Hassan. But here the dual criteria is we need to find Hassan who is living in Lahore. The person named Hassan who is living in Lahore needs to be calculated. So what is the formula? Is equals to sum if. Now you can see that multiple options are here. Sum if, sum product, sum SQ, and many more. We will be going to sum ifs. IFS, sum ifs. Enter tab. Now he is asking a sum range. In sum if, he was asking only range first. In this formula, he is asking the sum range first. So we will be giving a sum range here, comma. Now he is asking for criteria range 1. What do we have to find? What is the criteria range 1? So a criteria range 1 is we need to find Hassan in this range, comma, what is your criteria? Criteria is we need to find Hassan in the criteria range 1 we have given, comma. Now he is asking for the criteria range 2. Where do we have to find Hassan? Where do we have to find Hassan? So, what is the criteria range 2? Criteria range 2 represents the cities in which we need to find a criteria 1, in which we have to find criteria 1, comma. We have defined criteria 2. We have defined criteria range 2. Now we will be defining criteria 2. Where do we need to find Hassan? We need to find Hassan in Lahore, which is our criteria 2. Which is our criteria 2. And then we will be pressing closing bracket and pressing enter and OK. So we can say that Hassan, who is living in Lahore, has a sale range of 100, as a sum of 100. If I change this figure to any other city, or we can say if I want to find Ali in Lahore, so the amount will be changed. So the amount will be changed. You can say Ali in Lahore earns 250 of sales, earn 250 of amount. If I amend this thing, for example, I amend this Islamabad to Lahore and this to Lahore also. So it will be same as previous one. Ali in Lahore earns 900. What if I amend this again and there are two Ali in Lahore, or Ali is earning twice in Lahore. So this amount will be appeared. So basically, sum if has multiple criteria. Most use of the formula is sum ifs, because it can be used for more than two criteria. Sum if only calculates only single criteria, is run on single criteria. For example, if I want to find Hassan, he will only find Hassan either in Pakistan or any other country. He will only find Hassan. But if in sum ifs, he will the the function defines dual criteria. The function defines dual criteria, in which we can say the person living here or in any other respective city should be found and calculated. The person Ali should be found in Lahore and his sales should be calculated. So we are giving two criteria there. One is Ali, the second is Lahore. The second is Lahore. So we are ending this if session. Now we will be moving on to pivot tables. We will be moving on to another thing, which is pivot tables. I am stopping my screen here and again sharing a second screen. So we will be moving on to our next topic, which is pivot tables. Which is pivot tables. Here you can see there are multiple things. There is a brand column, there is a city column, there is a province column, which is there is a model column, date, quantity, and amount. For example, we say that Toyota in a city, Toyota earns 459 million or 45 million in Gujranwala city, which is of Punjab province, from its only one model. We want to calculate total sales of Toyota or total sales of Corolla model. So how we will be calculating? We will be analyzing this thing by using pivot tables. Because the data is huge, we cannot calculate it one by one or by using filters or any other option. So we will be using pivot tables. How do we use pivot tables? We will select the whole data by using Shift, Control, and arrow keys. Shift, Control, and arrow keys from left to right and top to bottom. Now we'll be inserting pivot table. What is the shortcut of pivot table? Alt. Now you can see the upper tab is open. The upper tab is open. We will press N because we have to insert a table. We have to insert a table. Here it is shown, it is seen, it can be seen that pivot table represents V. Pivot table represents V. We have pressed V and we can see that there are two options from the table range or from external data source. So we will be using table range because we have selected a range. We have selected a range. So we will type T. So a tab will be appeared and we will press OK after selecting. So here it represents a range and here is he is giving an option. Either you want to make a pivot table in the new worksheet or in an existing worksheet. So for the better presentation, we will be making pivot table in a new worksheet and we will press OK. So a list will appear here. A list will appear here. What things we will be needing? What things will be needing? We will be needing brand. It can be put in rows. So a data will be appearing like this. Say, okay. What else we need? We need model. We need amount. Amount will be put in values column. Amount will be put in values column. Now, do we need any other thing? We need cities. So we can say that city can be added in rows. Currently, we are removing model thing. So a figure will be appearing like this. A figure will be appearing like this. So for the better presentation, we will be making a pivot table very differently. Okay, Mansu, you can go. No issues. So we will be making a table in a different format. For example, if we press here, two options are appearing at the top of the table: pivot table analyze and design. There are two options. If we click on pivot table analyze, there are multiple things. There are multiple things. If we move to design, there are also different things: rows, headers. We will go to report layout in design tab. In design tab, we will go to report layout and we will click show in tabular form. Show in tabular form. So the city which were appearing here now have a separate column. The city which were appearing here have a separate column now. So you can say the Honda sales figure for Honda in Faisalabad, here is appearing some figure. It is appearing a sum figure. For example, if I go here in a source data and apply a filter and then select Faisalabad and then select Honda. So this is the breakup. This is the breakup of this thing. This is the breakup of this thing. So you can say that it's a combination of amounts. It's a combination of amounts. Multiple figures gather in a table and show a one picture table. Show a one picture table. If you are getting confused, I can remove the city column as well. Now it will be understandable more easily because it is very concise now. For example, I have made a table. I want to have a breakup of Honda, only Honda. I want to know that, for example, if I add model section here, I want to know the breakup of Honda City sales. Honda City sales. So what we will be doing, I will go to some amount cell. I will be going to some amount cell and click double tap. Click double tap. So a sheet will be appearing, which will be representing a breakup of Honda City sales, which will be appearing a Honda City sales, Honda and City. Likewise, if we want another breakup, we want breakup of Honda Civic or any other car. For example, we want breakup of Toyota Corolla, can be seen here. We will be clicking double tap and it will appear as like this. A table will be appeared resulting a combined amount of Toyota Corolla sales. Also, there are multiple things in pivot table. For example, it is expected that amount of this year will be increasing 10% from previous year. For example, this is of current year and next year we will be having a hike of 10%. We will be having a hike of 10%. So how we will be incorporating such thing? How we will be incorporating such thing? So one simple thing is we will go and find insert calculator. One thing is we can go to source tab and amend the data and refresh it and start from zero. But this will make a time consuming activity. So one thing is we can stay in the same table and incorporate such thing in the same table by without hitting the source data. We will click here and we will click insert tab. In home tab, there is an option of insert. We will click here and there is an option of insert calculated field. Insert calculated field. For example, what field you want to choose? What field you want to choose? For example, I want to choose amount. I want to choose amount. It should be multiplied by 10% or we can say 1.10. It should be a 10% hike next year. What should be the field name? Field name should be sales or expected sales. Expected sales for 2024. The sales figure for 2000 are expected to increase by 10%. So we will name the column and we will define that amount will be increased by 10%. And we will add, click add here and then press OK. So the amount here will be added and it will be a part of your table. It will be a part of your table without hitting your source data. Without hitting your source data. Here in source data, there is no 10% column. For example, if we do like this into 1.10, this will be a hectic thing. But we haven't amended in the source data. We have directly amended in a pivot table. We have amended directly in a pivot tables. For example, if I add quarters in here or years here, so how do we need to make a filtered thing? For example, currently I am, if I want to separate the data or filter anything, for example, I only want Honda sales for year 2020. Honda sales for year 2020. So what do we need to do? A simple thing is I will go here, filter the selected data and select Honda as my data. Only Honda will be appeared. Then now I will be doing same thing in years column. But this will be a time consuming activity. So what I will be doing, I will insert a slicer. I will be inserting a slicer. How do we insert a slicer? If if my cell is in pivot table, there is an option of pivot table analyze and a design tab. In pivot table analyze, there is an option of insert slicer. Insert slicer. So how we will be differentiating different things? By brand. So I will be clicking on brand and pressing OK. So a tab will be opened here. A tab will be opened here, appearing as buttons for me. Appearing as buttons for me. For example, I want to know the sales of only Honda. So I will be clicking just Honda and it will be appearing like this. For example, I want to know the sales of Kia. I will be clicking Kia. I will be clicking Suzuki. Likewise. So it will be something like this. If I want to know the sales of Toyota, it will be like this. If I want to know my sales year wise, so another thing we can add is timeline. Another thing we can add is timeline. The same thing in pivot table analyze, besides inside slicer, there's an option of insert timeline. Insert timeline date. And we will pressing OK. So this separate button will be appearing. Separate button will be appearing. Now it is bifurcated in different things. It is bifurcated month wise. I say I want to represent this thing in year wise. So I will be going here and select as I want. Either I want to represent this thing in day wise, month wise, quarter wise, or year wise. I have selected year wise. Sure, we will just this is the last thing. We will be wrapping it. Okay. So this is we have represented this data year wise. For example, I want to know the sales of Honda. I want to know the sales of Honda in 2020. So we will click Honda here, and here we will be clicking 2020. So the sales for Honda figure in 2020 will be appeared here. Will be appeared here. If I want to know the sales of Kia for the year of 2021, it will be appeared as here by just clicking two buttons. By just clicking two buttons. Now I will be removing slicer, all slicers. I will be deleting slicers. One more thing I need to explain is one last thing. Now let's just skip years and quarters here. Only we will be using brand and amount. Brands and amount. For example, I want to make a different tab. Make different tabs of Honda, Kia, Suzuki, and Toyota. For example, I want to make four pivot tables of different brands. For one pivot table for Honda, for one pivot table for Kia, one pivot table for Suzuki, and one for Toyota. So what is the shortcut? One basic thing is you go to source data and differentiate anything and apply more pivots. One basic shortcut is you drag this brand to filters. You drag this brand to filters. After getting this done, you select on this thing. You place your cell on B1, which represents a filter in which all four brands are representing here. You do this thing, and after this, you go to pivot table analyze. Pivot table analyze. There is an option beside pivot table name. There is an option of if you click option, the three options will be appeared. Show report filter pages, option generate pivot, get pivot data. We will click show report filter pages. And what we are differentiating brand wise. We are making four pivots of 4 brands. We can do this thing, or another thing also. We can differentiate by city wise, province wise. We can make more pivots. But here we are making brand wise. We are making pivot tables of brand wise. So we will be clicking brand and then pressing OK. So 4 different tabs will be appearing. You can see Honda, Kia, Suzuki, Toyota. 4 different tabs have been created representing different sales. For sales, Honda, this is the sales figure, and this is the expected sales of 2024. For Kia, this is the sales figure. So you can create multiple reports in just chunk of a seconds. In just chunk of a seconds. So this was all from me for pivot table, but I am giving my LinkedIn profile and my email address. If anyone have any query related to Excel or any issues related to Excel, so they can approach me here. So I'm stopping my screen and I am giving you one PDF file of basic shortcuts and my LinkedIn address and my email address. So if anyone wants to approach me, they can approach me related to Excel related queries. Thank you, Mansoor.
Okay, thank you so much, Barakallahu Feek, Saifullah, for taking your time out and taking our students and audience through this presentation on the usage of Microsoft Excel. I
You're welcome.
understand that the session could not be entirely covered in this short duration. There's so much to study on this subject. I
Very much.
would request you to share your email address on the
Sure, sure.
screen.
I
If you
am
just give me your email address, I can type it here. Can you just tell me your email address?
STUMBI
STUMBI
.95
.95.
@gmail.com.
Okay, so anyone who is interested to contact Saifullah can get in touch with him on his email address.
I
There
am
are
also
certain hacks and
sorry.
screen which you wanted to share, so they can get in touch with you directly and you can share it with them. Yes, Saifullah, I wanted to say something.
I am sharing also my LinkedIn URL profile. If I am not available on my email, I am available on my
Share it
LinkedIn
in the
also.
chat box. I can share it here.
Sure, sure. I am just sharing my LinkedIn profile.
So to all the participants who are attending the session, the email address is up on your screen. You can get in touch with Saifullah if you want to have a summary of, the basics that he's taken you all through today. He can share the PDF format or file. Of course, please try and reach out to him using the professional medium, which is there through email and or through LinkedIn. I'm still to get the URL, Saifullah. I'm waiting for the URL.
I am just giving.
Sure, sure. So as we conclude the session, I want to thank all of you who've taken your time out and attended the session. We'll have more skill development sessions and corporate connect sessions coming in. However, in the month of February, we don't have any session which is coming up. That's because you would be having your exams, etc. So there will be no skill development session right now. But hopefully, we'll be back in February in the next semester, that is spring of 2024, with more skill development and corporate connect session. Now, the LinkedIn profile, I'm just sharing it on your screen here. I don't think you may be able to click on it. So if you can search for Saifullah as Saifullah Tumbi on LinkedIn, you'll be able to find him, inshallah ta'ala, and you can connect with him as well. Saifullah, I would like to thank you for taking your time out and
You're
giving so
welcome.
much of your precious time to share the knowledge and share the skills with our audience and our students. I'm sure they benefited a lot from the session.
You're welcome. And I am sorry if I have missed anything or missed any options or any accelerated things. So I will be covering that thing in next session or whenever you allow me to do so. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much, Saifullah. And of course, as I mentioned, the session is a long session, a detailed
Long
session.
session, detailed
And
session.
to try and condense it in this short period of time is always difficult. But we wanted to give all our students a hang of how things work on Excel. So now you have had a session with Saifullah, start using Microsoft Excel. And if you wish to do a more in-depth session, please write to us, to the Corporate Connect team, And we will be more than happy to have Saifullah in for a longer session, a more detailed session, perhaps spread over 2 weeks, so that students can benefit in detail through your knowledge. We'd like to conclude the session then. Thank you so much once again, Saifullah. Thank you to
You're
all the
welcome.
participants who've attended the session. Barakallahu feekum. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.